We're holding on Sadik Beis, Amid Beis. We're holding Sadik Beis, Amid Beis. And we left off with a certain picture. We've had a picture like this. Let's see go back in time. That wasn't the picture we left off in. This is the picture we left off with, right? We said the following. We said that these mechitzas, the aleph and the aleph, they go ahead. They come to aser. Where do you find mechitzas that matter? In other words, where do you find the mechitzas that come that they are, according to the lashon of the Gemara, mechitzas leisur. In other words, if not for these mechitzas, well, actually, it was the mechitzas above here. It was in the chutzner. You'd be able to distance Dalet Amis and plant. It was in the case above. It was this case, right? In this case, if you didn't have these gifufim over here, you'd be able to distance 4 amis. And now you're telling me you can't go at all. So you find that mechitzas are being what? They're asering. So the Gemara said, what do you mean? You don't find mechitzas to aser? Over here, you have the mechitzas over here. It's going to aser there. So the Gemara says, well, what happens if you build these mechitzas over here? Look, right now in here it's muta. The chatzah gedol is muta, right? Because these are a pesach, the 2 alephs. What happens if you would build these walls over here? Now it would all be aser. So you see mechitzas, the base, the creation of the 2 bases would in fact aser the chatzah gedol, which is muta until now. So what was the answer? It's not the mechitzas that make it aser, it's the removal of the alephs that make it aser. It's the siluk mechitzas that makes it aser. So that's where we were holding, that the siluk mechitzas make it aser, and now we're going off and tangentially a little bit to see where you find areas that mechitzas possibly could go ahead and make something aser. Okay, so I believe we are on the bottom, 2 lines from the bottom. Amalei Rava Labaya. Says Rava to Abaya, don't you find mechitza that's aser? I'll show you mechitza that's aser. Itmar. We have the following scenario, guys. You have an echsadra. Here you have an echsadra. You have a wall here, a wall here. These are alephs. These are a tefach wide over here. This is a good sukkah. Why? You have 3 walls. You have the schach, right? And now you have the schach. You have the side posts, which are each one a tefach. That's all you need, right? And if you would go ahead, and right now it would be kosher. However, what happens if you would fill it in? See, you're filling it. You're filling this in over here. That will remove the what? The alephs. And now that would aser. You'd only have a sukkah with 2 walls. So here's the case of a mechitza. You're bringing a mechitza in over here and over here, and it's creating an isser. So what are you telling me? You never find a case where a mechitza can aser. I had a kosher sukkah. Now you went ahead and filled it in with these 2 mechitzas, and now I don't have a kosher sukkah. So you have mechitzas that aser. Says the Gemara on the Aleph Mar Sikach Gabi Sadra. If you put schach on top of an achsadra, sheyesh like ptzimin that has tefach side posts, kishera, it's a kosher dikasukkah. The ilu hishva ptzima, but if you would go ahead, fellas, and be mashva the ptzimim, you would go ahead and fill them in, make the bays, they're even, and you took away the tefach, psula. So you see that what? That in fact it could make it. A machitza could passel. Amalei Abaya, l'didi kishera. To me, it's kosher. Guys, Abaya has no problem. Abaya says the following. Abaya holds over here, you're going to say P tikri yared v'saisim. Since you have P tikri, you still have 3 walls. 1, 2, 3. So it says Abaya, regarding myself, the kasha is not a kasha. Not a kasha. Because even when you filled in the psimim, it's still kosher because P tikra makes the what? It makes the 3rd wall. It makes the 3rd wall. L'didach, however, according to you, it's not the mechitza that's passing, it's the siluk mechitzis, it's the removal of the psimim, fellas. Guys, what happened over here? It's the exact same case. Look, over here you had walls. You had the aleph and the aleph. Now you don't have the aleph anymore because the base filled it in. So it's not the base that's usser, it's the removal of the aleph that's usser. So Abaya holds serve in his case. You never find the mechitza that asses. And the two cases you brought me are a case of siluk mechitzas. You're removing the mechitzas, but not that the mechitza itself asses. Amalei Rabba Barav Chana Labaya, Lemetzina Leisser. When you never find a mechitza that's usher. So again, they continue to question Abaya. Let's see the next case, right? The next scenario. That's not it. This is it. Vatanya, Baya Shechetzi of Makura. You have a house that half the house is what? Is covered. Half the house is covered, right? The Chetzi of Eina Makura, and half the house is not. Gefanim Kan, the Gefanim are over here. Mutal is Roya Kan. You'll be able to go ahead, what? And plant over here. However, the Ilu Hishves Kiraisav, let's say you would go ahead and fill this in. Here you have Pitikra over here, right? You have a wall. So therefore, anytime you have a wall, fellas, you can plant right next to it. So over here, if you would go ahead and do this, right? Usser, only if you distance 4 amas. Over here, guys, look, you see, I'm planting right up. Halacha is, if you have a wall, you can plant right up to the wall. You just remove this now. You remove the mechitza by putting over here. Now you see you have to distance 4 amas, right? So what happened? Amalei hasam esilach. Why? It's not this that asks, guys. It's the removal of this. The good asik wall, the good asik mechitza. You're going to say pi tikra yared v'saisim. Since you did this, it's not this that acid. It was the removal of this that acid. So again, the same teretz we've given until now. It's not the mechitza that asks. It's the removal of the existing wall that asks.
I'm a little puzzled because it really sounds like semantics. By putting that roof before to prevent pitikra, or by putting the walls to prevent to eliminate the side posts.
So you remove the heta. You didn't create the issa. You remove the heta. That's the teretz. Does that semantically sound better? I know it does. In other words, it's not the mechitza that created the issa. The mechitza removed the heta, but you don't find the mechitza that went asa.
Okay.
That's it. I hear what you're saying, but now if you semantically put it a different way, it's different. So, Sholach Rav Abaya, the Yad Rav Shmaya Bar Zeira. Rav was sent to Abaya in the hands of Rav Shmaya Bar Zeira. Now, Abaya is the one who's holding serve. Abaya is the one who said you don't find the mechitza that asks, right? Lemetzina mechitza leisser batanya. Yesh mechitza sakerem lohakel ulahachmir. There are cases of mechitza sakerem that you can be makel and you can be machmir. Now, why do we know about a kerem? If something's a kerem, you have to distance 4 amas before you can plant. If it's an existing kerem. If it's not called a kerem, it's just trees, then it's 6 tfachim. If it's on the other side of the wall, you can plant right there. 3 halachas. An existing kerem, 4 amas. Trees, clay, just a series of trees together that don't have a shame kerem, then 6 tfachim. A wall, even an existing kerem, a wall's being mafsik. Those 3 halachas. With that hakdama, let's begin. Ketzad. Kerem anatuya, a kerem that is hanatuya, ad ikka mechitza zareya, me ikka mechitza ve'ela. So now, you have a planted kerem, hanatuya ad ikar until the base. Mechitza zareya. You can plant to the base. Me'ika mechitza ve'elech. She'ilu ein shom mechitza. If there was no mechitza, marchik dal amis v'zareya. But v'zehu mechitza kerem lahakol. That's an easy halacha, guys, right? If it was a kerem, dal amis. Or mechitza, you can plant to the base of the mechitza. Next, Ulahachmir Kesad. Well, what would be a case of what of to be machmir? What would be a case to be machmir? Okay, now this is not it, but let's see a case to be machmir. Hey, how's that? Instead of, this is taking you back, guys, to Daf Beis, right? You have this is called Mechol HaKerem. So around here you have to distance 4 amis. Around here you have to distance 4 amis, right? Why? Because avodas HaKerem. In other words, you always have to leave a place where the animals can go. Here, he's over here. You got the animals. You see a little oxen. Leave a little place over there. This was called the Karachas HaKerem. We'll get back to this in a second. According to Beis Hillel, you had 4, 4, and 8, total of 16. 4, 4, and 8, a total of 16. That's called a bald spot of the Kerem. In other words, in this scenario, you'll be able to plant over here Zeroyim in the vineyard. Now, the Mechol HaKerem is speaking about the one next to the wall, and this is the one that we need, because here we have a Mechitza. Here we have a Mechitza. So here's 4 amis from the wall, and 4 amis in the middle. This is Beis Hillel. 4, 4, 4, a total of 12 will allow me to plant. Now, this is the Mishnah. He's not bringing a Mishnah. He's bringing a Brisa. Now, here's the Chumrah of Mechitza. If it was the distance from the Kaisel, you have to distance 11, meaning up to 12. You can't plant there. If there wasn't a Mechitza, marchik dalet amis. You just go ahead and put dalet amis. But now you have a Mechitza there, it's 12. Right? V'zareya. V'zui Mechitza kerem lahachmir. So l'chayra, the kula is, if you have a kerem on one side and a mechitza you can put it right behind the mechitza to be mafsik. Conversely, if you have a kerem on this side and the mechitza is 12 away, then you have to move. You have to plant in the middle over there, and you have to distance more than 4 rounds. So Amalei Taimech Oisva Masnisa. Why don't you ask the Mishnah? Nan Karachas HaKerem, the ball spot of the Kerem, which we just saw. I'm going through this quickly. Eshami Oimrim Chav Dalet Amis. He also Chav Dalet Amis. He also 8, and 8. Besul Oimrim Tesayin Amis 4, 8, 4, 8, and 4. Machal HaKerem. That's the side of the Kerem. Eshami Oimrim Tesayin 16. Besul Oimrim Yud Beis Amma. The Ezri Karachas HaKerem. Kerem she Chorav and Siyasai. It's got the middle is empty. If you don't have 16 amas there, do not bring 0 over there. If you have Tesayinama, you give the share of 4 amas to the Abadasai of having the oxen with the cart. There's a reyes, a meiser, and then you can plant the rest. This is what we need. This is the Mechol HaKerem. Right? This is the Mechol HaKerem. Let's bring it out as I'm speaking to you. Right? The Mechol HaKerem. So what do? But Mechol HaKerem.
Rothenberg.
Bein HaKerem legeder. Between the Kerem and the Geder.
Sure.
Sham Yud Beis Amma 4, 4, 4. Lo Yavi Zer L'Sham.
Huh?
Lo Yisham Yud Beis Amma. Nois Lo Kedei Avodasai. Zereyas HaMoiser. And then, in other words, so why did you ask from here? What? Why didn't you go ahead and...
You have to mute, Lace. You have to mute.
I'm what? I have to mute? Okay. So you have over here, these 3 areas over here. Now, what's the reason? Oh, it's not the mechitza over here, guys, that's the chumrah. What's the reason over here? It's not the mechitza that causes the chumrah. Ela hasam lav hainu time with the chol dalar amis l'gabe kerem avodas kerem. L'gabe geder kivin lo mizdaran. You have to distance from the this, not because of a chumrah of the mechitza, but you're going to knock the mechitza down because it's going to soften the earth. Afkurim afkalhu the beni. If you have beni, ikka dalit chashvinan v'loy chashvinan, pirish. This has nothing to do with the mechitza creating this. This is simply tillable area. You need 4 amas from here of kerem. You need 4 amas here, not because of the chumrah of the wall, but because you don't want to weaken the wall. And then you need 4 amas in the middle to be a makam chashav. So Mamela, when you have a situation like this, 4, 4, and 4, you can plant, but not because it's a chumrah. Mamela is very geschmack. A bias has held serve. We haven't found one place where what? Where it was, where there was a chumrah. We haven't found one place where there's a chumrah. Now I should have taken another picture, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna give you a hakdama for the next piece of Gemara. We know that there is something called a mechitza gerua, a lousy mechitza. There's a mechitza called a mechitza gerua. It's a lousy mechitza. It's either shesi or arev. In order to be a good mechitza, that's arev, that's shesi. It's got to be both to be a good mechitza. If it's a lousy mechitza like this, gerua, you'll be limited to what? To Beis Sasayim, 5,000 square amas. That will be a limitation. You won't be able to carry more in Shabbos. Because really, in order to carry more than Beis Sasayim, you need something that's hukaf ledira. No one is going to go ahead and use that as a type of what? Of barrier. The only one who would use it would be people who are in the desert, right? Traveling, the shayara. You remember this picture? It's a famous picture, right? The shayara. If it's a caravan, then even a mechitza gerua, a lousy mechitza, will allow you to carry more than Beis Sasayim. So that's the rule you got to know. The rule you got to know. Lousy mechitza, caravan, more than Beis Sasayim, less than caravan, to a Beis Sasayim. What's a caravan? 3 people. What's a caravan? 3 people. Got it? 3 people's a caravan. Good. With that, check this out. With that in mind, let's check. So I always find it easier to go ahead and do this. Here you have 3 karfifos. Each one should be limited to 2,000. Guys, you see the lousy walls around it? You see? You got the shesi walls around it, right? So you have lousy walls. So this guy should be limited to what? 2,000. Beis Sasayim. I keep on saying 2,000. Beis Sasayim. This one should be limited to Beis Sasayim. This one should be limited to Beis Sasayim. However, if you look, this is our Chatza Gedoyla and this is our Chatza Katana. Here's your Gefufim, right? This is your Chatza Gedoyla, this is your Chatza Katana. Here's your Gefufim, yes? This is exactly what we saw. Therefore, this is subject to this and this is subject to this. Meaning, this guy has, it's like if this guy is in here and this guy's in here. So you have 3 guys in here. 3 guys in here makes it a caravan. Therefore, you'll be able to go ahead and carry as much as they need. You would not be limited to Beis Sasayim. Conversely, if it's this the middle guy, so this guy, this is us and this is us. In other words, in this scenario, he'd be limited to 2,000, he'd be limited to 2,000, and he'd be limited to 2,000. That made sense? Not so good? Okay, you have the Akdama. 3 people's gonna, all you gotta know, 3 people's gonna increase you, right? Yes, Dr. Ben. Okay. 3 people's gonna go ahead and increase you. Okay? That's the 3 people's gonna go ahead and increase you. That's it. How can we create 3 people? Yes? Using our Yisoid of the Mishnah, that the Chatza Ketana is the Pesach for the Chatza Gedoyla. We'll consider the Chatza Ketana as part of the Chatza Gedoyla. So when I have this, when I have the first scenario, guys, it's like these guys are here because this is totally subject to them. Therefore, you got 3 guys. 3 guys is a shayara, it's a caravan. Therefore, you get more than the Beis Sasayim. Conversely, over here, it's the opposite. These guys are subject to what? He's subject to him, and he's subject to him. So they're not all together. And therefore you're limited. Him to him, him to him, him to him. That's the Gemara. That's the Gemara. And we'll see Bez Hashem, the Shaila on the Amid base. Okay, very good shmak. I love when I say very geschmack. Like I understand it, and I don't know if you do, but to me it's very geschmack. You're gonna miss the Perish Chai. From the next Masech Pesachim, you're just gonna see a lot of face. You're not gonna see too many pictures. I don't have to go ahead and show you what a piece of chametz looks like, right?
It helps to remember the Gemara when you have a picture to remember.
Yeah.
I'll take Pesachim without the Perish Chai. It's okay.
I think Yankel, you're in good company. That was a good line. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Very geschmack, guys. In other words, the reason we're bringing in this Gemara is because of its corollary to the Chatzah Katana Chatzah Gedolah, right? That's the whole thing. So once you know that, and also you had the idea of Shayara. So says the Gemara, very geschmack. Rabbi Yehuda, Gimel Karfifos, you got 3 lots with lousy chessy walls. Bechitzas Gerua. Zeh b'tzad zeh, right? Shnayim zeh b'tzad zeh. Ushnayim achitzonim gufafim, and the 2 outer ones have those olives. They have those walls. V'emtzoi einam gufaf. In other words, the 2 outer ones are the chatzah gedolah, and the middle one's the chatzah katana. V'yachim b'zeh, nasa kishayara. You schlep them all into the middle because that's their Pesach. Now you got 3 people together. The nice one called Sarchan, they can carry as much as they want. They're not limited to Beis Hasayim. Vadai emtsoi megufif, but if it's the middle one that's megufif, it's the middle one that has the gifufim. In other words, the middle one is the chatzah gedolah, and the outer ones are the chatzah katana, and now the outer ones are subservient to him, right? Ushnayim achitzoinim einam megufafim. You only get what? Sheish. Meaning base assigned to this one, base assigned to this one, and base assigned to this one. Those are the pictures. Now the Gemara begins to play. In the second scenario, guys, watch this. In the second scenario over here, what happens if you put 2 over here? I got 2 guys in here and 2 guys in here. Or I got 2 guys here. In other words, can we start playing by putting more people in and see what the halachic difference would be? Okay. So now I'm gonna keep the board open and let's start. It's this case, the second case we're playing with. Now, iboilahu echad bezeh ve'echad bezeh u'shnayim b'emtzoi. You got 1 here, 1 here. You got 2 in the middle. So now, if you're telling me that this is the main and this is the schlep, do we say this one can be in here and this one can be in here? Because you have 2 over here now, right? Just add 1 more. Mahu. Ilahacha nafki tilsa. Guys, the 2 here go to here, you got 3. The 2 here go to here, you got 3. And then what we'll say you have a shayara. Again, this now is subservient to this, correct? So therefore, if you have 2 over here, we'll say these 2 can go to here, these 2 can go to there, because again, he's got the gifufim, right? He's got the gifufim. So if he goes to here, then you're good. You got 2 people here, guys. Maybe 1 goes to here and 1 goes to here. And then you only have 2. So guys, 2 in the middle. If 2 goes to here, you're good. If 2 goes to here, you're good. 2 in the middle. If 1 goes to here, you're not good. If 1 goes to here, you're not good. That's the shaila. And you're going to say, if you have 2 in here, 1 goes to here and 1 goes to here. You have 2 in the middle, 1 goes east and 1 goes west. Then you don't have a shayara. Shnayim bezeh, ushnayim bezeh. You got 2 in the east, 2 in the east, 2 in the west, and 1 in the middle. Ve'achav emtzoi. Mahu. If you got 2 here and 2 here, 1 goes here, you got 3. 1 goes here, you got 3. Correct? Maybe you don't know Gnai which is going to go. Maybe if he goes to here, it goes here, it goes here, it goes there. All these questions will be makel in this case, and we'll say the shayara works. Again, the whole meaning of shayara is a kula. We'll say in this scenario what it works, and therefore it will be what it will be considered. It'll be considered that each side, as you would be able in the last scenarios, as long as you can possibly make a combination of 3 people, it will be considered a shayara. Amrav Chista, Ami Beis. Okay, let's get a picture up here. You have a mechitza of 10, but the mechitza is a combination of a gidud, a bank, and a brick wall. Okay, so Amar Rav Chisda says Rav Chisda, gidud, chamisha, umechitza, chamisha, if it has a gidud, a base of 5, and a mechitza of 5, aim with starfin, it doesn't combine to 10 to be a full-fledged mechitza. At this point in time, if we don't know that a mechitza is 10 tefachim, then we're ready for Pesachim. So you have five over here and 5 over here. You got your 10. So aim at starfin actually a kula begidud. You need totally this, 10 of this, or a kula mechitza of 10 of that. Okay, this is not mitzaref. Meisivei, I'll ask you a question, right? What's my question? Shtei chatzeros. You have 2 chatzeros. You have 2 courtyards. Zu l'mayla mizu. One is higher than the other. One is higher than the other. Here's your upper one and your lower one. There's 10 tefachim over here. But how did you get to 10 tefachim, guys? 5 you got because of gidud, and 5 you got because of what? Of a mechitza. So according to Rav Chisda, this is not a good wall, correct? According to Rav Chisda, therefore, what would the halacha be? You would have to go ahead and make an eruv together. Yes? You wouldn't have the option of making separate eruvim. Why? Because they're not separate chatzeros. In fact, you could only make one eruv because you don't have a mechitza. That should be the halacha, correct? In other words, based upon Rav Chisda's din, guys, that what? That this is not a wall, so you don't have a wall between the 2 chatzerim, correct? Now here's the problem. Continues the brisa. Oy sheyesh bo gidud chamisha umechitza chamisha ma'arvin shnayim, 2 separate. Ve'ein ma'arvin echad. There's your kasha, guys. You're going to make 2 separate eruvim, and they can't be together. Why do they have to make 2 separate eruvim? Obviously, because they have a mechitza. So what do you see? 1, 2, 1 of a gidud, 1 of a mechitza is a good mechitza. Because we're saying here and here, they have to be separate. Pachas mikan, less than this. If it's less than 10, ma'arvin echad ben ma'arvin shnayim. And then what? No choice. Less than 10, then one big thing. The kasha is from the Reisha. Amar Rava, change the gears, guys. Rav was before Rav Chisda. Amar Rava, moide Rav Chisda b'tachtoina. He's moide in the lower one that this is a mechitza. The upper one, it's not. The lower one, it is. So since for the lower one, it's a mechitza, ma'arvin shnayim ve'ein ma'arvin echad. We're going to ask on that in a second. So right now, we're holding the following. We have a kasha and we have a teretz. Says Rav Chisda, if you have 2 walls that are made up of 2 different things, a black hand and a white hand, right? This one matters. And you go ahead, what? And we're going to say it's not a mechitza. So you got a problem. Why? Because here you have chatzerim. You said it is a mechitza. Says the Gemara, you just told me it's not a mechitza. Says the Gemara, this will be mechitza for my left wrist. The lower chatzah, this will be a mechitza. For that it is. So therefore, since it's a mechitza for that, you have no option except making 2 separate chatzeros. Good? Says, let's see the Gemara inside now. So says Amarava, Moide Rav Chisda b'tachtoina, the lower chatzer, hoyel v'roya pnei asara. He's looking at what? You're looking at a full-fledged mechitza. Therefore, ma'arvin shnayim. If you're telling me for the lower one, it's a full-fledged mechitza, tachtoina ta'or shnayim, loy ta'or echad. The bottom one should go ahead what? And not be able to make them 1, only 2. El Yaina, that there is no mechitza at all, loy ta'orev, loy echad. He can't make a mechitza alone. You know why? Because it's paritz to a place that's asa. It's asa. They can't make an eruv with it. So therefore, it's open to a place that they didn't make an eruv with. Why? We know if you open to a place that you didn't make an eruv with, the Chatz Ketana open to the Chatz Gedola, you're finished. For Leil Shnayim, and since the bottom one is cut off, you can't go ahead and make an eruv with it. So your you just said you can't make it one. You can't make two. You have to make two, but not one. And your teretz is because it's a mechitza for the lower one. And frag the Gemara Kasha, you fataish the brisa according to the lower one. You did not fataish it according to the upper one. The lower one, it makes sense. You have a mechitza, therefore you have to make a separate erev. The upper one has no mechitza. He's open to a place that's asa because he can't make them. Because why? Because he can't make an erev with the lower one. The mela, he should not be able to make even an erev in his own rishos. So you didn't answer up the upper one. Amar Rab Ravula Kigoin, he does. Shahoise el yoina migufefes ad eseramis. Listen, let's look at his picture. It's very geschmack. He has, this is not a wall for him, but he has a wall over here. This is a full 10. In other words, he has a full 10 mechitza over here and here. Since he has a full 10, this is a mechitza that allows him to make an erev alone, right? But together not, because this is when we say on mechitza, if this is a mechitza for the lower one, it's not a mechitza for the upper one, but the upper one has a mechitza for itself. So therefore, he can make a separate, not shnayim. Why not? Less than 10, ma'arvin echad, ve'ein ma'arvin shnayim. If this over here is less than 10, guys, the 5 and the 5 here is less than 10, you're telling me they have to make it together? 1 second. If he has a full-fledged mechitza over here, the 10, why does he have to make an erev with him? Why can't he make it separately? When it says pachas mikan, it's definitely going on this one. It's definitely going on the combo mechitza. So this mechitza over here allowed him, in other words, if you didn't have a mechitza, if across the board, fellas, this is all 5 and 5, you'd have a problem. The guy on top would have a major problem. He could make it separately because he has a full-fledged wall. He won't be able to make any. He's open to a place that's asa, that would asa him. And so what does this do over here? This allows him to be separate from him. Fred the Gemara Kasha, if this allows it to be separate from him, then when this is less than 10, why does he have to make an erev with the lower one? He could make a separate erev himself. He's got a wall. In other words, fellas, look at me. We destroyed the wall. When you make that less than 10, you destroyed the wall for the lower one. You did not destroy the wall for the upper one. So pachas mikan, I can understand why the lower one has no wall and he has to go ahead and make an erev with the upper one. But you're telling me the upper one has to make an erev with the lower one. Why? He's got a wall of 10. He's got a mechitza. Not so complicated. Good. The picture tell a big story there. Says the Gemara, you're right. Says the Gemara, very geschmack. Yihachi aim a sefer pachas mikan. If the 5 and 5 is less, it's 5 and 4. Ma'arvin echad vein ma'arvin shnayim. Iboy chat tarev, iboy trei tarev. If he wants, he should be able to make it 1 erev. He wants to be able to make 2 erev, right? 1 erev. Again, the upper one can make a separate erev. Why? Because he has a wall. And secondly, the bottom he's not closed off to the bottom because it's pachas mikan. It's less than 10. So there's no mechitza from the lower one to the upper one. Okay, another picture. Yeah, this is less than 10, right? But nifritza, you don't have these gefufim are on the side over here. So this is shenifritza tachtonim b'loyal al yoina. This is totally open to the al yoina. Therefore, since it's totally open to the yoina, it seems that you have to go ahead. Therefore, since he's totally open, he won't be able to make an error for himself. He has no gedudim, right? This equals it up. So therefore, he'd have to make an erev. He wouldn't be able to make it separately. Guys, here's his wall, but the wall's cut off. Shenifitza over here. Since it's totally open, he won't be able to make an erev. with this
Not be
alone.
gedola
Tachtoina chat ariv trailer ariv. The bottom one, since you don't have a mechitza anymore, you should only be able to make a separate mechitza, a separate erev, not together. So it says the Gemara, El yoyne yiboy trei tariv yiboy chat ariv. If he wants the upper one, I have to get this over. What this is doing, one second, I have to, I'm a Rabbi, he's going, shenifetza tachtoina b'maloya. Since this is okay. We destroyed this, but what are you gaining now? Ichachi. I'm going over it again one more time. So this is Mugufefes, and what this went ahead, so you had a mechitza in the upper one now. Ad eseramas. As long as it's less than 10. Ichachi, if it's speaking with Mugufefes, ema seifa, pachas mikan, meaning look, it's now not 5 and 5, it's 5 and 4. Ma'arvin echad ve'ma'arvin shnayim. It says they can make an erev together, but they can make an erev separately. One second. Iboi chat ta'ariv, ibori trei ta'ariv. Since the gifufim are not parrots, the gifufim are not broken, the gifufim are there, right? It's a full-fledged mechitza. So since this is a full-fledged mechitza, they should have the option of making what? 2 or 1. So Amar Rabbi Brei the Rava, Kigoyin Shenifetza Tachtoin B'Mloya. Therefore, it was this gefufim were cut off. So in other words, he doesn't have gefufim. He has, but he doesn't. So since he doesn't, he has no option of going ahead and making he doesn't have a mechitza. Since he doesn't have a mechitza, he has to go ahead and make an erev with him. So in other words, what this wall did was it cut off this. If you were down here and you had this gifufim over here, so therefore you should be able to go ahead and say what? Make 2 or 1. But now, Fred the Gemara Kasha, Chayra, you should be able to make a 2 or 1. So why if it's less than 9? If it's less than 10, it's 9, you can only make 1. Because the Gemara says, since it's different maloya and the gefufim are cut off, you don't have what? This is like a Pesach to here. So you only have an option of making 1 erev. And therefore you have to make 1 erev because he doesn't have gifufim anymore. If he doesn't have gifufim, then he's considered the Pesach for this one. He's like the Chatzah Katana, guys. He's like the Chatzah Tachtoin is like the Chatzah Katana. He's open to there. The only way he can go ahead and carry is if he makes an erev with him. The Tachtoina, it should only be able to make 1 and not 2. El Yaina, the upper one, guys, look, he's got a wall and he's got gefufim. So why does he have to make 1? Him, I understand why he has to make 1. He has no wall, he has no option. The lower one, guys, you see, he has no option. There's no wall for him. If there's no wall, that means he's open to this one. So he can only make what? An erev with him. However, he is the upper one. He's got both milas. He's got a wall, 10, and he also has gifufim that makes this a Pesach because he has this bank over here. If you were standing here and looking out here, you have the side post. You have a post over here and a post over here. So why is he limited to making 1 erev? He should be able to make either by himself or with him. Guys, this is the Mishnah, the Chatzah Gedolah, Chatzah Katana application, right? That's all it is. We're using that same application. I'm going to go through it again one more time, okay? I'm going to go through the pictures one more time.
Isn't the Chatzah Katana and Mokum Isser over there? So you shouldn't be able to.
Okay, so I'm going to just go through it one more time because I want to make sure everyone gets it. Okay, you shouldn't just be sitting here. No. He said it then. He said, Rav Chisda said it then. This is not mitzdaref, right? It's not mechitza. We have a problem. Here we have a Mishnah or a Brisa that says you have an upper one and a lower one, and they are mitzdaref. Why? It's considered a good mechitza. They have to make a separate erev. Why is that? Says Rav Chisda's Maida, the lower one, this is a good mechitza, but not for the upper one. For the lower one, it's a good mechitza, not the upper one. It's very good. Okay? Says the Gemara, if that's the case, then the upper one should be asar. It is mechitza over here. No, it's paretz l'maloo. Upper one has nothing. It has nothing. You know, don't look at this picture. The upper one, if you didn't have this, what does the upper one have? This has a mechitza. The upper one has nothing. They should be able to make it's open to a place that's asa. It doesn't have a mechitza, so you're in trouble. You shouldn't be able to make anything. The Gemara takes care of that by saying it has a mechitza. It has a mechitza, and the mechitza is gifufim. There they are, over here. So this mechitza gifufim allows them to make a separate eruv. For the Gemara, right? If that's the case, so why in the Sefer does it say if it becomes less 4 and 5? Why does it say you can't make a separate eruv? You should be able to make a separate eruv, and he should be able to make a separate eruv. And that we say that this is closed off. He has no gefufim. Since he has no gefufim, he has no option of making an eruv by himself. He has to make it with him. Fred the Gemara, but still we're holding right now. If he's up here with gefufim, why is he limited to one eruv? He should be able to make an eruv by himself. So that's what we're holding right now. He should be able to make an eruv by himself. So why does the Gemara say? Einachinami, you're right. The upper one could either do both. Einachinami, he can either make a separate eruv because he has the gifufim, and the lower eruv is the lower chutzner is considered to him a pesach, and if he wants, he can make it together. It says and the Brisa said that you have no option except of making one rather than two. That was speaking about we're going on the lower one. So now it's all clear, guys, right? The lower one has no mechitza. Why? Because it's 4 and 5 is 9. It's not 10. Memela, it's to the what? This is, think about it. This is the chatzah katana. The chatzah katana is paritz to place that's asa. They obviously have to make what? An eruv. The upper one has an option. He has a gifufim. This makes it a pesach, right? And therefore, he can either do what? He can either make it separately or together with them. And when it said pachas mikan, you're limited to one, it was only going on the lower one. I know I spoke a lot, but I think it's good, right? I think yeah, good. Okay. Dorish Merema, Gidut Chamisha, Mechitza Chamisha. You have that combination. Then mitztarfin they would combine. Ashche Ravina Rav Achabre the Rava Amalei Tani Man Midim Mechitza Amalei Loi. The Hilchasa Gidut Chamisha Mechitza Chamisha mitztarfin. In other words, all we said, guys, was a moot point. We don't pass on Rav Chisda. It's a mechitza for the upper one, mechitza for the lower one. There's no difference, right? It'll be mechitza for both. So therefore, if it breaks down, it's lower than 10, they have to make an eruv together. If it's higher than 10, they have to say separately. That's it, unless there was a pesach between them. Boy Rav Hoshia, the urine aboyim b'Shabbos mahu. Guys, let's say you have a wall between two mechitzas, right? So this guy makes an eruv, this one makes an eruv, right? The wall falls down in mitten Shabbos. In mitten the rin and the wall falls down. So what do you have now? You have people who came to live with you. The people, each one in the chutzah came to live with the other one. And you didn't make an eruv with them. Does that asa? Or do we say, since Shabbos came the hutra the whole Shabbos? The tut stadim to the shiloh. If the wall falls down, I have a bunch of new people, the urim, that what I didn't make an eruv with. And therefore I'm asa. Or do we say, since I made the eruv and Shabbos came hutra, it's mutter. That's the shiloh. So, Amar Rav Chisda, I think maybe I have to change the girsa. Amar Rav Chanina, Toshma. Amar Rav Chanina, Toshma. Chotze Gedoyla, Shenifritza lekatana. Our Mishnah. A Chotze Gedoyla Shenifritza lekatana. A Gedoyla Muteres lekatana Surah. Mishnei Shi Kipiska Shel Gedoyla. Right, a classic case, guys. You have it was Shabbos. And the Choyre broke on Shabbos, so the Gedoyla is mutter, and the Katana is asa. What's asa in the Katana? The fact they didn't make an eruv with the Gedoyla. So what do you see? The Gedoyla arrived on Shabbos, so let's be poished as Shaila that the Urim will show up on Shabbos, asa. The Urim that show up on Shabbos, they asa. Because, or else, why is the katana asa to carry? It must be because they got a bunch of new people from the Gedalah. Okay? Amar Rabba, Ema miboy yoim nifitza. It's not a moot point, fellas. It didn't break on Shabbos. It broke Erev Shabbos. And the reason it's asa is because they failed to make an Erev. And the reason the Gedalah is muta is because it has Gifufim. And the other ones are Pesach to it. And the other one's asa, of course, it's Paritz Limaloya to a place that's asa, they didn't make an Erev with. But Einachinami, if it broke on Shabbos, it would be muta. And also would be muta. Only Abaya, loy tema mar ema. Don't say Rabba said. Ela vaday mibiyon. Vaday it broke. Don't say you. In other words, this isn't a potential rejection of your kasha. It's the only shot you can say. Why? Because Rabba is going to show that Rabba holds the following. Vaday mibiyon nifitza. The Hamahu the Amar, Rabba, Abaya called the Rabba Mar. Master said, the Amar, boy me name Rav Huna, boy me name Rav Yehuda, Erev Derech HaPesach. Guys, you had a Pesach, you had a wall, a Pesach. You can make an area between. You have a chaloin, a window. You can make an area between. But Nistam HaPesach and the wall fell down. The Pesach got closed. Erev Derech Chaloin, V'nistam Chaloin. So now, basically, you shut off. Mahu, what's the din? Amali, Shabbos, Kimisha Hutra. You say Shabbos, since it's muta, it's muta. So if he holds this Shabbos, it's muta. Al Karchach, he has to be holding that what? That it broke Erev Shabbos. Because if it broke on Shabbos, the Chatzah Katana would be muta. So obviously you're forced to say that it must have broken Erev Shabbos. So don't say Mar could give this answer. Elavadai Mar did give this answer. That what? The Chatzah Katana broke Erev Shabbos. Because if it broke on Shabbos, the Chatzah Katana would be muta. Why? Since when you entered Shabbos, you couldn't make a mechitza because there was a wall between the Gedolah and the Katana. You couldn't make it. But they made an Erev among themselves, the Chatzah Katana. Al Korchach, what you have to say will be. Have a great night, guys.
Rabbi.